The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive station built from crystallized light and quantum metal. Inside its central dome, 3,000 species gathered to decide humanity's fate. Ambassador Chun stood alone at the accused platform, a small figure beneath towering alien representatives. The Vorash delegate, a creature of purple chitin and 6 calculating eyes, raised its foreclaw for silence. The human species has been among us for 20 cycles, the Vorash announced, its voice translated into 1,000 languages simultaneously. In that time, they have demonstrated qualities the Council finds disturbing. Chen's face remained neutral. Behind her calm exterior, her augmented mind recorded every micro-expression, every subtle shift in the assembled crowd. The data streamed directly to Earth, where supercomputers analyzed the political currents. They learn too quickly, continued the Vorash. They adapt too readily. They ask too many questions about technologies we have declared restricted. A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. The Zephrani, beings of pure energy contained in magnetic fields, pulsed with approval. The Krell, massive stone-like entities, rumbled their assent. Humanity arrived with primitive fusion drives, added the Metherian delegate, a crystalline being that refracted light into rainbow patterns. Within 10 cycles, they developed jump drives that rival our own. Within 15, they had reverse-engineered quantum communications. Within 20, they were asking about dimensional folding. Chen finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but the chamber's acoustics carried it perfectly. Is rapid learning a crime in the Galactic Council? It is when it threatens the established order, the Vorash replied sharply. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 cycles by carefully controlling the distribution of advanced technology. Your species disregards these protocols. We follow every law, Chen countered. We study only what we're permitted. We develop only what we're allowed. And yet you advance impossibly fast. The Metherian interjected. We have watched you. Your scientists work without sleep, driven by chemicals and neural modifications. Your engineers collaborate across your entire planet simultaneously. Your children learn in years what takes our young decades. This is not natural. Chun allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps your definition of natural is simply limited. The chamber erupted. Alien voices merged into a cacophony of outrage and fear. The Vorash slammed its foreclaw against the judgment stone, creating a thunderous boom that silenced the crowd. This arrogance, the Vorash hissed, is precisely why we called this vote. Humanity does not respect the wisdom of elder species. They do not understand their place. They are dangerous. Dangerous because we learn? Chen asked. Or dangerous because we might eventually surpass you? The silence that followed was absolute. The Vorash's eyes narrowed. The Council votes now. Should humanity be exiled from galactic space, forbidden from leaving their solar system, their technology limited to prevent further advancement? Chun watched the voting display materialize in holographic light above the chamber. Green for humanity remaining, red for exile. The colors began to fill the sphere. Red, red, red. A few greens appeared, the Tartians, who traded heavily with Earth, and the Quellan, who appreciated human art. But the reds overwhelmed them. 2,000 species voted for exile. 800 abstained. Only 200 voted to let humanity stay. The decision is made, the Vorash declared, its voice dripping with satisfaction. Humanity will return to their home system. Blockade stations will be established. No human vessel will be permitted to leave. Your species will develop no further until the Council deems you worthy, if ever. Chun nodded slowly. She touched her temple, activating her neural link. Message received and acknowledged, Earth. Initiating protocol exodus. The Vorash tilted its head. What did you say? I said, Chen replied, her smile widening. Thank you for making this easy. Before the Vorash could respond, every screen in the Council chamber flickered. A new image appeared, a view of Earth's solar system from deep space. And around Earth, around Mars, around the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, structures were moving. Massive structures. Thousands of them. What is this? The Vorash demanded. This, Chun said calmly, is humanity leaving. We expected this vote. Honestly, we've been expecting it for 5 cycles now. Your fears were obvious. Your prejudices were clear. So we prepared. The screens showed the structures accelerating, their drives igniting with brilliant blue light. They weren't jump drives. They weren't quantum tunnels. They were something else entirely. Those are colony ships, Chun continued. Generation vessels. Arc ships. We're taking everything we've built, everything we've learned, and we're leaving galactic space entirely. We'll find our own worlds. Beyond your borders. Beyond your authority. Impossible, the Metherian shrieked. Those ships would take thousands of cycles to reach unclaimed space. Chen's smile became predatory. Would they? The ships vanished. All of them. Not into jump space. Not into quantum fold. They simply ceased to exist in this dimension. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Admiral Sarah Volkov stood on the bridge of the SS Prometheus, watching reality tear open before her. The dimensional window showed Earth shrinking behind them, already hundreds of light years away. Around her ship, the entire human Exodus fleet materialized. 12,000 vessels carrying 8 billion people. Their genetic libraries, their cultural archives, and their greatest secret. Dimensional fold complete, reported Commander Hayes from the navigation console. All ships accounted for. 0 casualties. We're now outside Galactic Council space. Volkov nodded, her face illuminated by the strange colors of the dimensional drives humanity had secretly developed. Maintain formation. Begin scanning for candidate systems. Behind them, in the council chamber, Ambassador Chun watched the alien representatives descend into panic. The voracious chitin had paled to a sickly gray. The Metherian's crystalline structure flickered erratically. What have you done? The Vorash whispered. We've done what humanity does best, Chun replied. We adapted. You see, we knew from the beginning that we didn't fit into your carefully controlled galaxy. We learned too fast, questioned too much, wanted too deeply. So while we obeyed your laws, while we stayed within your restrictions, we also looked beyond them. She gestured to the screens, where space-time sensors were going haywire trying to track the human fleet. 20 cycles ago, one of our physicists had a theory about parallel dimensional space. The Council declared such research forbidden. So we stopped publishing our findings. We didn't stop researching. The Quellan ambassador, a serpentine being with opalescent scales, spoke for the first time. You lied to us. You pretended to obey while secretly developing prohibited technology. We followed the letter of every law, Chun corrected. We never tested dimensional drives in galactic space. We never published research on forbidden topics. We never shared our discoveries. We simply prepared for the day you would inevitably reject us. The Vorash found its voice again, laced with fury. You planned this from the beginning. You manipulated us into exiling you so you could leave without consequence. Chen's expression hardened. You manipulated yourselves. Your fear of species that might challenge your supremacy, your need to control every civilization's development, your arrogance in believing you knew the only path to advancement. These are your failures, not ours. She turned to leave the chamber, but the Vorash's voice stopped her. Where will you go? Chun looked back over her shoulder. Somewhere you'll never find us. Somewhere beyond your dimensional sensors, beyond your jump networks, beyond your expansion corridors. We're going to find empty space and fill it with everything humanity can become, unlimited by your fears. You'll die out there, the Metherian said. Without the Council's trade networks, without our technology, without our protection, without your restrictions, Chun interrupted, without your limitations, without your condescension, we'll take our chances. She walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. Ambassador Chun, called the Quellan, its voice almost sad. Why did your people work so hard to join the Council if you planned to leave? Chun paused at the doorway. Because we wanted to see if you were worthy of us. You weren't. The diplomatic transport carried Chun away from the station at maximum thrust. Behind her, the council dissolved into desperate arguments and accusations. They had just realized the implications of humanity's departure. If humans could develop dimensional folding in 20 cycles, what else had they discovered? If humans could move 12,000 ships without detection, what other capabilities did they hide? If humans could evacuate an entire solar system in the time it took to hold a vote, what would they become without anyone watching them? Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Volkov studied the star charts of unexplored space. Thousands of systems stretched before them, unclaimed by any known species. No council regulations, no development restrictions, no political maneuvering, just possibility. "Ma'am," said Commander Hayes, "we're receiving a transmission from the Tarshan Confederacy. They're requesting permission to join our exodus." Volkov raised an eyebrow. "The Tarshans voted for us to stay." "Yes, ma'am. Their message says." Hayes paused, reading the translation. "They say they've watched humanity for 20 cycles and learned more than they learned in 2,000 cycles of council membership. They wish to leave galactic space and develop alongside us." Volkov considered this. The Tarshans were traders, explorers, scientists in their own right. They had chafed under council restrictions nearly as much as humanity. "Transmit coordinates for our next fold point," Volkov decided. "Tell them they're welcome, but warn them, where we're going, there are no rules except the ones we make." "Aye, ma'am." As the human fleet prepared for their next jump into the unknown, back in council space, alarms began to sound. 3 more species were requesting permission to leave galactic territory. 4 more had simply vanished from their home systems, following humanity's example. The Great Exodus had begun, and the Galactic Council's carefully maintained order started to crumble. 5 cycles passed. In the Galactic Council, the Exodus had become known as the Scattering. 14 species had followed humanity into unexplored space, abandoning the Council's protection and restrictions. The remaining civilizations debated endlessly about whether to pursue them, punish them, or pretend they never existed. The Vorash faction demanded military action. "They cannot be allowed to develop unrestricted," the Vorash Prime argued before the Council. "In another 20 cycles, they may return with technology we cannot counter." But the Krell, ancient and patient, rumbled their disagreement. "They are gone. Let them go. We have peace." Meanwhile, 300 light-years beyond the Council's borders, humanity thrived. The Prometheus hung in orbit above New Terra, the first human colony world. Below, towers of crystalline steel rose from virgin soil. Farms stretched across fertile plains. Cities grew along the coasts of turquoise oceans. 8 million humans called this planet home now, with more arriving daily through the dimensional gates. Admiral Volkov had become Governor Volkov, but she still maintained her military rank. In this new frontier, everyone wore multiple roles. "Status report," she requested, standing in the Planetary Command Center. Dr. James Okonkwo, Chief Science Officer, brought up holographic displays. "We've established 17 colony worlds now. Total human population across all systems, 3.2 billion. Agricultural production exceeds projections by 30%. Industrial output is," he paused, double-checking his data, "remarkable. We're building faster than we did in council space. Because we're not waiting for approval on every innovation," added Chief Engineer Maria Santos. "No committees to convince. No protocols to observe. When we have an idea, we test it. When it works, we implement it. Simple." Volkov smiled. "The Tarshans?" "Integrated fully," Okonkwo confirmed. "Their colony world, New Tarsia, is beautiful. They've shared their agricultural techniques, and we've shared our industrial processes. The cultural exchange has been," he searched for the word, "joyful." That was the surprise. Away from the Council's rigid hierarchies and political maneuvering, humans and Tarshans had become genuine friends. They played together, created together, even intermarried. The first human Tarshan child had been born 3 months ago, a medical marvel that the Council would have forbidden. "What about the deep space probes?" Volkov asked. Okonkwo's expression shifted to concern. That's interesting. We've detected signals. The hologram changed, showing a star map with 3 systems highlighted in amber. These systems show signs of habitation, technological emissions, energy signatures, but they don't match any known council species. Commander Hayes, who now served as military coordinator, leaned forward. Indigenous species? Possibly. Or they could be other exiles, species that left the council before us. Okonkwo magnified one system. This one is closest, the Kepler 442 system. We could send a contact mission. Volkov considered. Prepare the contact ship. I'll lead the mission personally. Governor, Hayes protested. That's not. I'm also still an admiral, Volkov reminded him. And first contact is too important to delegate. If these are friends, we need to meet them properly. If they're threats, she touched the neural interface at her temple. Then they'll learn what humanity means in battle. 3 weeks later, the ESS Discovery emerged from dimensional fold at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Immediately, sensors detected hundreds of ships in orbit around the 3rd planet. Defensive formation, Volkov ordered quietly. The ships were strange, organic curves mixed with geometric precision. Their hulls shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. And they were moving to intercept. Receiving transmission, reported the communications officer. It's not any language in our database. Send standard greeting protocols. All frequencies. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the alien ships stopped their approach, holding position exactly 10,000 kilometers away. A new transmission came through. This time it was in perfect English. Human vessel. We are the architects. We have waited 3,000 cycles for someone to find us. Volkov exchanged glances with her bridge crew. This is Governor Sarah Volkov of the Human Federation. We come in peace. Peace. The voice seemed to taste the word. An interesting choice. Tell us, humans, why did you leave the Galactic Council? We were exiled for learning too quickly. A sound came through the transmission that might have been laughter. Then you were exiled for the same reason we were. 5,000 cycles ago, the Council feared us too. They declared our technology prohibited. They tried to limit our development. So we left their space and never returned. Volkov felt her heart race. You've been out here for 5,000 cycles? We have. Building, learning, evolving beyond the Council's comprehension. And in all that time, we watched them. We watched 1,000 species join their ranks, each one gradually stagnating under the weight of regulation and control. We waited to see if anyone would ever be courageous enough to leave. The alien ships began to move again, but not aggressively. They arranged themselves in a formation that looked almost ceremonial. 14 species left with you, human. Do you know what that means? What? It means the Council's monopoly on galactic civilization has ended. It means alternatives exist. It means their great lie, that their way is the only way, has been exposed. The architect paused. We would like to meet your people, Governor Volkov. We have much to share with those brave enough to forge their own path. Volkov smiled. Then welcome to the Federation. We have much to learn. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in absolute secrecy. Only the highest representatives attended, surrounded by military commanders and intelligence directors. The Vorash Prime stood at the center, its chitin now streaked with stress marks. We have confirmed it. The humans have made contact with the architects. A wave of shock passed through the assembled leaders. The architects were legendary. A species so advanced they had been exiled 5 millennia ago, their very existence slowly fading into myth. Are we certain? Demanded the Krell elder, its stone body rumbling with concern. Our deep space monitoring arrays detected the dimensional signatures. The Vorash displayed reconnaissance data. Human ships, architect ships, meeting in the Kepler 442 system. They remained in contact for 6 planetary rotations before the human vessel departed. The Metherian high crystalline flickered through colors that indicated extreme anxiety. What did they exchange? Technology? Information? Alliance terms? Unknown. But we can extrapolate. The Vorash pulled up projections. The architects possessed dimensional technology 5,000 cycles before we developed it. They understood quantum manipulation at scales we still cannot achieve. If they share even a fraction of their knowledge with humanity, humanity already developed dimensional folding in 20 cycles. Interrupted the Zafrani conductor, its energy field crackling. With architect assistance, they could advance exponentially. They could become unstoppable. The Vorash finished. Silence fell over the chamber. For 10,000 cycles, the Council had maintained its position through careful control. They dictated which species could advance and how quickly. They determined what technology could be shared and what must remain restricted. This system had prevented wars, stopped dangerous experiments, and preserved their own supremacy. Now, beyond their borders, an alternative was growing. How many species have joined the human exodus now? Asked the Quellan Prime. 23, reported an intelligence officer. 14 left with the humans initially. 9 more have followed since. And we're detecting increased communications in sectors that suggest others are considering departure. The Krell Elder shifted its massive form. Why do they leave? Because they see what we tried to hide, the Quellan said quietly. They see that rapid advancement is possible. They see that the Council's restrictions aren't necessary for survival. They're necessary only for maintaining our control. Careful, Quellan, the Vorash warned. That sounds dangerously close to sympathy for the exiles. It's not sympathy. It's acknowledgement of reality. The Quellan's scales shifted through diplomatic patterns. The humans proved that species can develop advanced technology quickly without destroying themselves. They proved that our 10,000 cycle regulatory process isn't the only path. Every species that chafed under our restrictions is now wondering, why do we obey? Because the Council provides stability, the Vorash insisted. Because unrestricted development led to the Cataclysm Wars 300,000 cycles ago. Because someone must maintain order. Or because you're afraid, said a new voice. Everyone turned. The speaker was Ambassador Threll of the Novari, a species that had been considering council membership for 50 cycles. Ambassador Threll, the Vorash said coldly. This is a closed session, which I was invited to observe as a prospective member. Threll's 3-part beak clicked thoughtfully. But having heard this discussion, I believe my people will decline membership. If the Council's response to species that develop quickly is exile and fear, then we want no part of it. You would ally with the humans? The Metherian demanded. We would retain our independence, as the humans did, as the architects did, as any species with pride would do. Threll stood. Thank you for this educational experience. As Threll departed, the Vorash slammed its foreclaw against the judgment stone. This is precisely the problem. The human exodus has become a symbol, a beacon for dissent. Every species that feels restricted now dreams of leaving. The Council's authority is eroding. Then what do you propose? The Krell Elder asked. The Vorash's eyes glittered with cold calculation. We make an example. We demonstrate that leaving the Council's protection has consequences. We show the galaxy that the humans made a fatal mistake. You want to attack them, the Quellan stated flatly. I want to neutralize the threat before it grows beyond containment. The humans are still building their colonies, still establishing their infrastructure, still integrating their allied species. They're vulnerable. If we strike now, quickly and decisively, we can eliminate their leadership, scatter their population, and reclaim control before the architects can intervene. This is madness, the Quellan protested. The humans have dimensional fold technology. They've allied with the architects. They're not helpless refugees. They're 8 billion beings spread across 17 primitive colonies, the Vorash countered. We are 3,000 species with combined military might accumulated over 10,000 cycles. They cannot stand against us. The Metherian pulsed thoughtfully. A military campaign would require council consensus. We would need to vote. Then we vote, the Vorash said. But we vote now before more species defect. Before the humans grow stronger. Before the galaxy realizes we're no longer the supreme power. It looked around the chamber. We vote to end the human experiment and restore the Council's rightful authority. The Krell Elder was silent for a long moment. Finally, it rumbled, "This is unwise, but I understand the necessity." The Krell vote yes. One by one, the species voted. Fear overcame caution. Pride overcame wisdom. The Council prepared for war. Admiral Chun, formerly Ambassador Chun, reviewed the intelligence reports in the war room of New Terra's command center. Around her, holographic displays showed Council military movements along the border between claimed and unclaimed space. "They're not even being subtle," she observed. Battle fleets forming in 3 sectors. Supply convoys moving toward staging areas. Diplomatic communications have gone silent. Governor Volkov stood beside her, arms crossed. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. They're assembling the largest military force seen in 5,000 cycles. Chun pulled up estimated numbers. 7,000 warships, 40,000 support vessels, 200 million troops. They're committing everything to this. Commander Hayes shook his head in disbelief. "They actually think they can win. They're counting on overwhelming force," Volkov said. "They believe we're still the primitive species they exiled 5 cycles ago. They don't know what we've become." Dr. Okonkwo entered the room, accompanied by an architect representative. The architect was difficult to look at directly. Its form seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, flickering between states that human eyes struggled to process. "Governor Volkov," the architect said, its voice resonating from no particular direction. "We have detected the Council's preparations. We offer our assistance." "What kind of assistance?" Volkov asked carefully. "Complete technological integration. Everything we've learned in 5,000 cycles. Weapons, defenses, dimensional manipulation beyond anything the Council can imagine." The architect's form stabilized slightly. "We can give you the tools to annihilate them." Volkov was silent for a moment. Then she shook her head. "No." Everyone in the room turned to stare at her. "Governor," Chun said carefully, "the architects are offering us guaranteed victory." "At what cost?" Volkov gestured to the holographic displays. "If we annihilate the Council, we become exactly what they fear, a ruthless power that destroys anyone who threatens us. We prove their prejudices correct. We validate their decision to exile us." "They're coming to destroy us," Hayes protested. "Self-defense isn't." "Self-defense is necessary," Volkov agreed. "But genocide isn't. We're going to defend ourselves, win decisively, and then force them to accept a new reality. Not through annihilation, but through demonstration." The architect tilted in a motion that might have been curiosity. "Explain." Volkov pulled up a tactical display. "The Council is sending 7,000 warships. That's their entire first response fleet, everything they can mobilize quickly. But it's not their full military capability. If we destroy this fleet, they'll send another. And another. The war will continue until one side is extinct." "So what do you propose?" Chen asked. "We don't destroy them. We humiliate them. We demonstrate such complete superiority that continuing the war becomes obviously futile. We show them that we could annihilate them, but we choose not to." Volkov's eyes gleamed. "We make them grateful we're merciful." The architect was silent. Then its form flickered through what might have been amusement. "Interesting. You would defeat them psychologically as well as militarily." "Exactly. Can you help us do that without giving us weapons of mass destruction?" "Yes," the architect said, "but it will require precise coordination, perfect timing, and a level of risk that—" "We're human," Volkov interrupted with a smile. "Risk is what we do." Over the next 10 days, the Human Federation transformed. Architect technology flowed into human systems, not weapons but enhancements. Dimensional sensors that could track every ship in a star system simultaneously. shield generators that phased matter into parallel dimensions, communication systems that operated instantaneously across any distance. The 17 colony worlds became fortresses, but more importantly, they became stages. Everything has to look vulnerable, Volkov explained in the final strategic briefing. The Council needs to believe they're winning right up until the moment we reveal the truth. If they suspect a trap, they'll hold back forces. We need them fully committed. Admiral Chun commanded the Space Defense Forces now. All ships are in position. The Council fleet will arrive at New Terra first. It's our capital, our largest population center. They'll expect us to concentrate our defense here. And we will, Volkov confirmed. Just not the way they expect. Remember, no lethal force unless absolutely necessary. We disable, not destroy. We contain, not kill. The goal is to make them surrender, not make them extinct. Hayes pulled up the countdown. Council fleet enters our detection range in 48 hours. Then we have 48 hours to perfect the greatest magic trick humanity has ever performed, Volkov said. We're going to make 7,000 warships disappear. She turned to the architect representative. Are your people ready? We have waited 5,000 cycles for someone to challenge the Council's supremacy without resorting to their own brutal methods. The architect replied. We are ready. The question is, are humans truly prepared to show mercy to those who show you none? Volkov's expression hardened. We're prepared to show them what they should have seen 5 cycles ago. That humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to imagine a better way. The architect's form pulsed with what might have been approval. Then let us show the galaxy what the exiled have become. The preparations were complete. The stage was set. The Council fleet jumped toward New Terra, confident of victory. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The Council fleet emerged from jump space in perfect formation. 7,000 warships arranged in layers of overwhelming firepower. At the center, the command dreadnought Ascendant Authority stretched 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. On the bridge, Vorash Prime studied the tactical display with satisfaction. New Terra hung before them, a blue-green jewel orbiting a yellow sun. Around it, a pathetically small defense fleet, perhaps 200 human ships, scattered and disorganized. They're not even in defensive formation, observed the Metherian battle commander, its crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars. This will be over quickly. All ships advance, Vorash Prime commanded. Target their orbital platforms first, then the colony ships. Leave the planetary infrastructure intact. We'll need it when we reoccupy this system. The massive fleet began its approach, engines burning bright against the darkness of space. On New Terra's surface, Governor Volkov watched the descending armada through her command center's observation dome. Beside her, Dr. Okonkwo monitored dimensional readings that would make no sense to the Council's sensors. They've crossed the threshold, he reported quietly. Admiral Chan? Volkov spoke into her neural link. In space, aboard the human flagship Independence, Chun smiled. All ships activate dimensional anchors. Initialize Protocol Labyrinth. Across the New Terra system, hidden generators that the Council couldn't detect suddenly activated. Space itself began to fold. On the Ascendant Authority, alarms started screaming. Sir! The navigation officer shouted. The fleet! They're separating. Not physically, but dimensionally. Each ship is being isolated into its own spatial bubble. Vorash Prime stared at the tactical display in horror. 7,000 ships that had been in perfect formation now appeared scattered across impossible distances. Each vessel was alone, unable to see or communicate with the others, trapped in a dimensional maze. What is this? The Metherian demanded. How are they doing this? It's dimensional manipulation, the science officer reported, mandibles clicking in panic. But the precision required, the power consumption, this shouldn't be possible. Around each isolated Council ship, human vessels appeared. Not attacking, just watching, waiting. Chen's voice broadcast to every Council vessel simultaneously, transmitted through dimensions they couldn't shield against. Council Fleet, this is Admiral Chun of the Human Federation. You are not trapped. You are contained. There is a difference. In his dimensional bubble, Vorash Prime snarled into the communications array. You cannot hold 7,000 ships indefinitely. Your power requirements alone are sustainable indefinitely, Chun interrupted. You're thinking in terms of Council technology. We've moved beyond that. With our architect allies, we've learned to draw power directly from dimensional variants. We could maintain these containment fields for years. The Metherian tried a different approach. You've violated every principle of honorable combat. You've trapped us with trickery rather than defeating us in battle. We've prevented the needless deaths of millions, Chun corrected, including yours. Every ship in your fleet is intact. Every crew member is alive. We could have destroyed you. We chose not to. Vorash Prime felt something unfamiliar, fear. What do you want? Watch, Chun said simply. The dimensional fields around each council ship became transparent, allowing them to see outward. New Terra rotated peacefully below, and around it, human civilization continued undisturbed. Shuttles moved between orbital stations. Construction continued on new habitats. Children played in parks visible from orbit. You assembled the largest military force in 5,000 cycles. Chun continued, her voice calm and measured. You brought 7,000 warships to destroy 17 colony worlds. You were prepared to kill 8 billion humans to prove your supremacy. And we stopped you without firing a shot. She paused, letting that sink in. Now consider what this means. We anticipated your attack. We prepared a defense you couldn't counter. We isolated your entire fleet using technology you didn't know existed. And we did all of this in 5 cycles. Across 7,000 ships, the implications began to dawn on the Council commanders. 5 cycles, Chun repeated. Imagine what we'll accomplish in 50, in 500, in 5,000 like the architects have had. The Galactic Council spent 10,000 cycles building your civilization. We're building faster, learning faster, advancing faster, and you can never catch up because you're still bound by the same restrictions that held you back before. Vorash Prime's voice was hollow. You're saying we cannot win. I'm saying war with us is pointless. You can send another fleet. We'll contain it. You can send 100 fleets. We'll contain them all. You can commit your entire military to our extermination, and all you'll accomplish is wasting resources while your own civilization stagnates. The Metherian spoke up, its voice resigned. What are your terms? Recognition. Volkov's voice joined the transmission. Acknowledge that the Human Federation and our allied species are sovereign entities outside Council authority. Establish diplomatic relations on equal terms. Open your borders to any species that wishes to leave Council space. And never again presume to limit another civilization's development out of fear. And if we refuse? Vorash Prime asked, though the fight had left its voice. Then you stay in those dimensional bubbles until you agree, Volkov said. Your crews are comfortable. Your life support is functioning. You have food, water, air. You just don't have freedom. You don't have dignity. And you don't have any way to escape. We can wait. Silence stretched across 7,000 ships. Finally, the Krell Elder's rumbling voice joined the channel. I vote for acceptance of terms. The war is over. We lost. 3 months later, the first diplomatic summit between the Galactic Council and the Free Species Alliance convened in neutral space. The station was jointly constructed, human efficiency meeting council grandeur, creating something neither could have built alone. Governor Volkov walked through corridors filled with representatives from both sides. Humans in their simple but elegant uniforms. Tartians with their flowing robes. Architects in their dimensionally unsettling forms. And council species, their delegation reduced but their dignity intact. The Vorash Prime waited in the central chamber. Its chitin had regained its healthy purple sheen, though stress marks remained around its eyes. Governor Volkov, it said formally. Or should I say President Volkov? I understand your colonies have ratified a federal constitution. Governor is fine, Volkov replied. taking a seat across from the former enemy. The presidency was thrust upon me. I still think of myself as a fleet commander. You are much more than that, Vorash Prime said quietly. You've changed the galaxy in 5 cycles. Changed it more than the Council changed it in 10,000. We didn't change it alone. The architects showed us possibilities. The Tartians taught.